Good morning, everybody. Our group decided to help me negotiate a salary raise at my company I work for, MicroHealth. I'm going to hand it off to Jasmine to handle negotiating a pay raise.
So Ben had worked with MicroHealth for just under 2 years, first working with the Human Resources Department as a recruiter. Since obtaining the position, his workload had increased by approximately half when he was asked if he could lend a hand in the contracts department. He willingly took the opportunity to learn a different skill set and did not ask for a pay increase when this occurred. This was around 4 months after he was hired. Ben also accepted his initial position at MicroHealth about half a year prior to being accepted and starting at UMD Smith School of Business. Next, we'll pass it off to Viviana.
So in order to prepare for this negotiation, our team heavily researched salary review websites such as Glassdoor, Salary.com, and PayScale to see what other companies were paying HR interns in comparison to what Ben was earning, which was only $12 an hour, if I'm correct at the time. So we spent a lot of time research, and we actually were able to determine our BATNA reservation point goal and opening offer from this research. So we were able to see that one of ACS, one of the competitors for MicroHealth was ACS Solutions, and they were hiring at a $3 increase from what Ben was earning. However, we would have to take the time to interview with them and potentially see if we would get hired, Ben would get hired or not. So that wasn't a very strong BATNA to begin with. So we decided to put our reservation point at a $2 increase just because the time that Ben was at the company, he should have gotten a salary increase since his responsibilities has grown over time and he has become an asset to the company. But we still didn't want to leave the company, so that's why we chose a $2 increase. Our goal was a $4 increase, just because that's what we think is fair, and in terms of a salary range of what we were able to find, it was $16 to $20 an hour that other companies were paying. And we decided to start our opening offer at a $6 increase, something a little bit more ambitious. So we conducted multiple mock negotiations in order to see what negotiation style worked the best. So we were able to see from trial and error to decide on a more distributive tactic in the beginning, using silence, and then incorporate more integrative tactics towards the middle and end of the negotiation, such as like formulating our victory speech, in order to see the other side's perspective and kind of see what interests they have, as well as potential questions that we might ask, questions in terms of what can Ben do in order to deserve this raise, or what is the company looking for, and how there can be a mutual gain for both parties. So some of the approach and tactics that we use, like I mentioned before, we use both distributive and integrative. In the distributive tactics, we used silence, we utilized the highball tactic, and we also utilized the limiting and authority power. So like I said before, Ben is a great asset to the company, and Ben leaving the company would be a huge hit for the company. So that was a way we were able to use his power. And we also asked, in terms of integrative, we asked questions, taking into account the victory speech and making sure there was a bargain for exchange as well.
I initiated this conversation over email correspondence with my head of human resources. I wrote to her that I'd like to engage and hold a virtual meeting to discuss my performance in MicroHealth thus far. This prompted a quick response, and a meeting was scheduled with her for a few days after I initially sent the email. Our group had ample time to hold several mock negotiations in preparation of the actual negotiation in order to come across as well polished as possible. In the actual negotiation, we exchanged pleasantries and then dove straight into the discussion about my current wage. I expressed that I personally contributed to the company, the progress I've made in both my education and levels of responsibility, and what I felt I deserved at the raise at this time. I then made my opening offer of a $6 raise and more fully explained my current situation. At this point, I stopped and waited silently for her response, not to diminish what I had said. My HR director conceded that I had in fact done a superb job at the tasks I'd been assigned, and even mentioned that I was complimented on my work ethic by my direct supervisor. With that being said, she countered with an offer of a $3 raise, to which I asked if she felt my workload had increased substantially through my employment. This gave her pause, and I think she was surprised that I had asked a question in response to her counteroffer. She expressed that I had definitely taken on more responsibilities outside of what I initially discussed, and believed that wanted to know what I believed a reasonable raise looked like. I told her that I'd be willing to come down from my initial offer to a $4 raise for my continued high performance. She nodded her head in agreement and cited that I was due for a raise based on everything we had talked about. She mentioned how she was impressed with some of my answers and my ability to negotiate, claiming that my continued effort would be met with a full-time position post-graduation, if I was so liked. I thanked her for her time and consideration and closed my computer, feeling that the discussion was extremely successful. The relationship between me and MicroHealth now feels stronger than ever, and this negotiation led to greater mutual respect, which will lead to better outcomes for both myself as an employee and for the company as a whole. The possibility of a full-time position as well after graduation is a great incentive for me to continue my focus and stay hungry for more opportunities.
In this negotiation, we all got a real life negotiation experience, which could help us in our career when we negotiate for salary raise at our jobs. The salary negotiation skills we learn during this negotiation will help us to build trust and stronger relationship at the workplace in future. We also learned the importance of being well prepared and how being well prepared can gain our confidence and help us succeed during the negotiations. When you're prepared, you're able to state your case more clearly and concisely. Being well prepared leads to better outcomes and smoother discussions. The best way to avoid the confusion and anxiety that comes with real life negotiations is to have a solid plan in place. As Jasmine mentioned, we did mock negotiations several times before we held our actual negotiation to find out our strengths and weaknesses and to prepare ourselves to conduct effective and successful negotiation. We also learned how to effectively utilize distributive tactics. As Viviana mentioned, some of the distributive tactics which we use effectively were using silence after giving opening offer, utilizing highball tactic, and limited authority or power. We all spent a good amount of time to prepare for the negotiation, which led us to conduct a successful negotiation. In this negotiation, our main goal and focus was to gain as much as we could and convince the other party to reach the agreement which would satisfy us more. The other important lesson that we learned in this negotiation was how the professional negotiations can establish positive long-term relationships. Establishing a good long-term relationship should be one of the goals in every negotiation. A positive tone in negotiation is more likely to result in positive outcome. In our case, building trust and positive long-term relationship was very important. So we tried our best to keep our negotiation as professional as we could, and we were very satisfied with our outcome. As Ben mentioned earlier, that how he feels that the relationship between him and MicroHealth got stronger than ever, which clearly proves that keeping the negotiations professional can establish positive long-term relationship. For recommendation, we recommend presenting multiple offers which could benefit you is an effective strategy, especially in salary negotiations. Rather than making one offer at a time, we should consider presenting several offers at once and negotiate on multiple things at the same time. For example, in our negotiation, we could present multiple offers such as high pay, salary-based pay instead of hourly pay, full-time job offer, or more paid vacation, more benefits, and flexible schedule. But for our negotiation, the main goal was to get a $4 pay raise. Presenting multiple offers strategy can promote more creative solutions. We also recommend not to use of take it or leave it tactic because it is a bad idea to use in the negotiation, especially in salary raise negotiations like the one we had. In our case, this tactic wouldn't work because our main goal was to get a pay raise and not to walk away. The company could easily hire another intern and replace Ben, but for Ben, it could be a little difficult to get a right intern position or job immediately. Also, it is never a good idea to accept the first offer from other side right away and finish the negotiation. When Ben started with the first offer of $6 pay raise, the other party countered our offer with $3 pay raise, even though it was above our reservation point, and we could accept their offer right away, but we decided not to. It is very important to always counter the other party's offer because if you don't counter, the other party will be concerned that they offer too much and may attempt to get out of the deal or walk away. It is important to negotiate back and forth because counter offers and back and forth negotiation most likely lead both parties towards being satisfied that they have come up with the best outcome and an agreement which could fulfill the needs of both parties. Asking the right and good amount of questions also help both parties to underline the mutual interest, which sometimes help to reach to an agreement faster.